Hey, this is Ryan Stegman, artist of Venom, Superior Spider-Man, and Vanish, and you are listening to the Oblivion Bar Podcast.
Welcome to the Oblivion Bar Podcast with your host, Chris Hacker and Aaron Knowles.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 161 of the Oblivion Bar Podcast. I'm your Merc with a Mouth, Chris Hacker, and joining me this week is the man who had to fondle some balls to get onto this show, and his name rhymes with Wolverine, my co-host and BFF, Aaron Knowles.
And he's got a smooth pair down under. You believe me? I feel like that's offensive. I feel like it's offensive.
For what? What's offensive?
For trying to do like a Australian accent or like anything close to like Australian / New Zealand, which I know is not the same, but we have.
No, it's not. It's just an accent. It's not. We're not culturally appropriating anything. We're just trying to sound like them.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, I'm just gonna throw it out there. Sexy accent.
Welcome everybody back to the Oblivion Bar Podcast. This week we are coming back with our third, Aaron, installment of the Comic Spotlight. I think it's our third.
I believe it's our third.
We haven't done one in a while because the last one traumatized me as an editor.
About as recent as our even longer than our last Battle Royale.
Oh, it's been way longer. We haven't done one of these. I'll have to look it up here in just a moment, but it was our Saga episode.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. So for everyone that doesn't remember the legend, that is our Saga episode where we covered our one of our favorite Brian K. Vaughan Fiona Staples stories, which again, we'll be talking to Brian K. Vaughan later this month. I had to go back and edit that episode 3 times, Aaron. 3 times. I had to edit together a 90-minute long episode about Saga. And every time that I did it, Adobe Audition would crash and I would be left having to just do it again.
And it was a simple fix.
I eventually figured out what it was, right? Did I tell you what it was? Did I tell you what happened?
It was like something with your memory.
Yes, the cache in Audition. If it's too full. Okay, here's a broad warning for everybody that uses like Adobe products, right? If you don't clear out your cache, like where it automatically saves your stuff, it will just not save it when you put together a long project. So
is it cache or is it cache?
I think it's cache. Pretty sure. Let us know. Send us a tweet.
It's like GIF or GIF.
No,
you know?
Nope. There's no. I think it's just cache, but I'm like 99% sure it's cache. But send us a tweet. Let us know. If Aaron's right, I will eat crow. I'm pretty sure it's cache. And cache sucks in Adobe. Don't use it. I mean, you have to because you have to save your stuff. But anyway, this week, we're getting too wordy here, Aaron, because we're taking a note from our favorite.
Let's get to it.
The Merc with the Mouth, the wordiest guy in the Marvel Universe, Deadpool. This week, we're going to be covering what I said a couple weeks ago on episode 160, one of the stupidest comic books I've ever read. Ever? ? Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Before we get into it, we'll obviously do news and notes and all the other things, but I'm just curious, kind of initial thoughts. What was it like reading this story for the first time?
Again, I'm surprised that with your repertoire, with your background in comics, I'm surprised that you call Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe the stupidest book you've ever read.
One of the stupidest.
Because this is far and away from the stupidest book that I've ever read. So, not a great book.
I think that's undeniable.
That's an allowed by the way. Because it's just
ums are allowed in this episode because we're gonna need a lot of thought to talk about this one.
Man, I'm just not really super impressed by this story.
Everyone's wondering, why are you talking about it then, Chris and Aaron? Why talk about it? Well, later this month.
We have a reason.
Yeah, later this month, Deadpool and Wolverine will be in theaters, right? And people are very excited about it. It's the only MCU film of the year, and we won't be able to cover it, Aaron. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately like we have to go to San Diego Comic-Con. We are going to San Diego Comic-Con, so therefore we won't have any time to cover it. So this was our way of weaseling our way into SEO and making sure that we were riding the Deadpool wave during this time. Or this is our way of educating all of you fine people prior to seeing Deadpool versus Wolverine, because this is what we believe is going to take up a large portion of the plot of the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah.
And Wolverine, yes. I keep wanting to say, like, we've had a lot of verses.
Yeah.
Recently, and I keep wanting to say Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Could be that for a bit.
It probably will.
It'll be the age old. They fight for a bit and then they're friends. I think that's going to be the
Just like Godzilla and King Kong.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to make a reference to that.
I wouldn't be surprised. But again, we'll get into that here in just a moment. We got to go through our news and notes, all the admin stuff. Firstly, here's how you can support the show, everybody. Listen up. Ears open, eyes open, everything. Be aware.
Sit down and shut up.
Shush your mouth. Be quiet.
Shush. You're coming off stupid. Patreon.com/Oblivion Bar Pod. For your support, you get access to The Grid, which is our weekly bonus podcast, episode transcripts, so you can see what we're going to be talking about, early access to normal episodes, as well as a special shout out at the end of each Oblivion Bar episode, which I famously get to do in my own way every single time.
One breath.
Never pre-recorded. And honestly, it's the best way to support the show. Once again, we appreciate any shares, reviews, 5-star reviews, and talking about it to your friends and family. But the best way to support us is patreon.com/Oblivion Bar Pod. Everything that we get goes right back into the show.
Yeah, or check the show notes. If you do that, that'll be in there as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our news and notes.
News and notes.
Our news and notes are sponsored by Omnibus. Backed by some of the top publishers of the medium, Omnibus hosts an extensive back catalog from Image Comics, Boom Studios, Dark Horse, IDW, Ahoy Comics, Massive Publishing, Titan Vault, and many, many more. And there's breaking news, Aaron. Omnibus is officially on Android. Download the Omnibus app on the App Store or on the Google Play Store, or you can read it on your desktop, on your browser, any browser, Google Chrome, Safari, whatever it is, whatever you use. Bing. I know it's a search engine, but you can look for Omnibus on there. Do you use Bing, Aaron? Or what do you
use Chrome.
Okay, yeah. And you read Omnibus on it, correct?
I do. And I'll tell you what, one thing I love about Omnibus, I love that big old back catalog.
You got a big old back catalog.
Big old baby back catalog.
All right, make sure you guys follow them over on all their socials, the Omnibus app. Omnibus by fans for fans.
It's bitchin'.
Aaron will say that again later because it is. It's bitchin'.
Woo! Here we go, Chris. Are you ready for this? There's a big old. Someone laid a big old turd in the comic book community.
Big old turd.
Big old poopy. The comic book community is currently calling out DC cover artist Francesco Mattina for his alleged use of AI. Anger is
a brewing.
Deep. It's deep over the use of AI, and because really it was called out by Adi Granoff. He called out DC cover artist Francesco Mattina for using AI in a variant cover for Superman 18. Now, I don't know if you've seen it, Chris. Have you seen the actual piece of art?
I have. Have you seen it, Aaron?
Now, bear with me.
Can we say really just off the top before we really get into this is that Aaron and I are sort of making light of this, but this is not a good deal.
This is horrible. This is
not
really
a good deal.
I'm going to use some words here. This is fucking bad.
Yeah. It's not
so
good.
Is this officially already going to print?
It was I think a solicitation is when it came out. So it can still be left off the printer. Yeah.
Which it probably will be.
There have been different artists over time that have been suspected of AI, and DC just kind of quietly pushes it off the printing page.
This one, if you go, so Superman 18, all right, it'll be in the show notes. You guys can go take a look at it. Mm-hmm. It is clearly AI because that is not an S.
Nope.
All right. So if you look, there's like a third or like a second bottom swoop to the S. Mm-hmm. I almost want to call it third, but Adi Granoff is the one who called him out in a Facebook post and said, when image generators first came to prominence, the first person who came to mind was a serial plagiarist, Francesco Mattina, as I thought he'd think all his Christmases have come at once. If you don't remember, he made a whole career out of his photo bashing other people's art. I don't post about artists I dislike, but I neither consider him an artist, nor can I hide my dislike for the continued blatant plagiarism. Anyhow, here's his new cover. Not only is he a hack, damn, this is hard, but he's not even good enough to hide the glaring mistake on one of the most iconic symbols in all of pop culture.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He went in. He went
in. And artists like Bill Sienkiewicz, Jill Thompson, Billy Tucci, Emanuela Lupacchino, and many others have sounded off about this topic on every social media platform. Some have been called for the return of an art director of DC Comics, a position once held by Mark Chiarello before he was removed in one of DC's endless rounds of layoffs. Mm-hmm. There's also an in-depth Twitter thread from @Nebs Good Takes highlighting several times Mattina has been caught either copying other artists' work or allegedly using AI somewhere in his work. Now, before I get into Neb's post, I am, shameless plug here. I'm friends with several artists on like Facebook and some of these other pages, and I don't want to call them out in general, but I've been seeing a lot of posts. I'm not going to call anybody out necessarily, but if you see the artist, you'll go and you'll see their posts, and they're all very, very upset because, I mean, obviously for a community who their sole income surrounds making art, not just like recreating it, which some pay homage to, which is completely different. That's a completely acceptable. Paying homage to these homage covers, variant covers, little changes, like that's still their art. But when they're blatant, what do you call that? Tracing or, AI usage, like AI, Chris and I constantly talk about AI images because it's all over the internet. And I, being a public affairs and public relations person, I see it heavily in a lot of like posts on, from people who work with marketers. And it's just the more prominent these AI generator images start surfacing, the worse it's going to be. But
yeah, it's one of those things where, I work in marketing and AI is becoming a big selling point now. It's, they say the number one, what is it? The most powerful tool in the workforce is manpower. And when you can get work done with less manpower, you're saving your company more money. And when I've had this argument with many of folk, I think the official stance of the Oblivion Bar podcast confidently is that AI, bad deal. We don't like it. AI, I think overall, as like we could spend an entire episode talking about this, but I think AI as a whole, as a tool, sure. Certain instances, if you need to use AI for something, if you need to look something up from, Chat GPT, okay, that's fine, whatever. But part of the process of art, I think, Aaron, and I think you would maybe agree, is that it's the process. It is the literal learning process of art. And I think that's why a lot of people buy original art. That's why they follow artists, is because it's a craft that not many people can do. And when people do it really, really well, it's a revering trait. It's something that you can sort of honor someone with. And when you plug in a prompt into a computer and say, have Batman hold a hot dog while he's at Wrigley Field, that's not art. That is, it's actually the complete opposite of art, in my opinion. So,
my opinion is exactly just that. I truly believe that you can use AI as a tool to create a prompt, to give yourself an idea, to basically, like, sometimes you have writer's block, sometimes you have artist block. You can use AI to create a little spark, and then you with your skills take it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to cover Neb's good takes.
So here's the thing. We don't really need to go down this thread. If people want, Aaron, I'll go ahead and leave the link in the chat because it's a long thread and Neb goes into extreme detail. It's not really something that we need to cover in depth. Just know that it's an incredible resource in terms of seeing what Mattina has done over the years and how much of truly he is a hack. Like he is someone who has often been caught not only tracing, as you said, but also just completely ripping off full figures and images. So
yeah, it's bad.
It's not good. Again, at Neb's Good Takes on Twitter, not X, it's on Twitter. And I would say that definitely give that a look because they go into extreme detail about what is going on here. And it's not only just Mattina. There's other artists that have been caught doing this.
Yeah.
So
that's the other thing.
It needs to get wrangled for sure, especially in comics. Like these creators are already not getting paid anything. Again, as I just said a moment ago, labor is the most powerful tool in workforce. If we're going to try to bastardize the comic industry by I was going to go on a long tangent here. I'm not going to. But the point is, we can move on after this, is that we need to be the people that keep the pressure on these publishers. They, especially the big two, DC and Marvel specifically. I know you're listening right now, Marvel and DC. I guess Warner, Discovery, and Disney. I know you're listening and you're trying to get your stuff done as cheaply as possible and make the most money you can. Don't fucking do that with this stuff. Not with comics. It's like, give us one thing, right?
Yeah. At that point, once it takes over, just get rid of the fucking whole thing.
Right. Exactly. All right, let's get into our next bit of news here. Speaking of absolute travesties that could or could not have been made by AI, we got our first teaser trailer for DC's 2-part animated Watchmen film. So, looking to be a shot-for-shot adaptation of the iconic Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' 1986 graphic novel, this completely CG rendered adaptation is said to be is said to be a leap forward for our DC cinematic animation. This style has already been adapted by the DCAMU event Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 through 3. Now, before I get into the plot, because I'm pretty sure most people listening to this probably at least know vaguely of what the plot is of Watchmen. Aaron, we watched this trailer before we got into this recording here. What were your thoughts while watching it?
It's not what I want to do. It's what I have to do.
It looks like garbage. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to leap forward cinematic animation, why regurgitate something that's been beaten to death?
Yeah. Yep. Not only that, but also showing it in the worst possible animated form ever. I've never seen an animated style worse than this, ever.
I've seen one that was interesting. It was like almost a moving comic.
Oh,
Have
you're
you
talking
ever
about with
seen
Watchmen, the Watchmen and the animated comic, or is that what you're talking about?
No, it was something else.
There was one of those on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen something. I couldn't tell you what it was. It was actually based off of a almost religious based like comic graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was just like, it was really good. The story was really amazing, but I've never seen animation where it was literally just like cell shaded figures, like moving, like I said, like an animated comic book. So it was really cool to see. But this, you're talking about again, one of the greatest graphic novels / comic books stories ever. You're talking about leaping forward animation and technology, and you're going to put out the same fucking bullshit that you've been putting out for years. Come on now.
There's zero style to this. There's nothing to this. This is such
nothing.
It looks like, you know how Archer is like purposefully sort of bad looking? Like they do it on purpose as part of the joke.
Yeah.
This looks like they're trying to do Archer, but there's no love to it. There's no quality to it. This is nothing. This is like bare bones. We got to put an animated movie out this year because we know people will buy the DVD type of shit.
I like how you said that it was possibly AI. Like they just threw this into an AI like bucket and
It
said,
looks like it.
Hey, do the Watchmen film animated.
Yeah. It's not good, guys. I mean, honestly, I haven't been interested in the DC AMU or whatever it's called. DC AMU, at all.
Did
recently,
you watch any of the Crisis on Infinite Earths?
I watched the first one.
I've heard good things about it. I just haven't watched it.
I watched the first one. It's not good. I didn't like it. And it's maybe my prejudice is that I don't like the art style. Maybe that's why I didn't love it. Truthfully, I just couldn't get behind it because it just didn't look good. And I think part of the allure to a lot of those old DC animated films like New Frontier and Under the Red Hood, a lot of those looked really, really good. It's just, this is not good. This is not it.
If they're not familiar, the film's plot for the DC's, the animated Watchmen is pretty much the same for the book.
Mm-hmm.
Watchmen follows an alternative history in the U.S. in which superheroes emerged in the 1940s. The U.S. won the Vietnam War, and the Watergate scandal was never revealed. It follows the moral struggle of superheroes Rorschach, Dr. Manhattan, the Night Owl, and others as they come out of retirement to deal with the murder of Edward Blake, also known as the Comedian, a state-sponsored superhero. So if you've seen the movie, you know what it is, with some small changes to the live-action official date TBD.
Yeah. Also, it's exactly what the comic is too. And I think here's the only thing that I'm interested by is I want someone to find Alan Moore and make him watch this. That's all I really want. Is I want Alan Moore. I want them to traverse the mountains of England, and they have to defeat the troll before they go over the bridge, and they got to cast a spell to get into his house. And then they just play this on their iPhone and put it in his face.
You gotta pay the troll toll before you can see Alan Moore. The troll toll is required.
I need a live commentary of Alan Moore watching this movie. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I don't even want to watch the movie. I just want to watch Alan Moore watching the movie. That would be far more interesting than whatever this dumb shit is. Okay, Aaron, let's get to our last bit of news here.
All right. So Marvel Studios Deadpool Wolverine is tracking for a $200 million opening weekend.
Finally, some good news. Jesus.
Finally, some good fucking news.
Yeah.
So this news comes via Deadline, which notes that the Quorum, the industry's leader in film data research and where we often get our box office projections, they're listing this projection as a conservative, meaning that the tracking system believes this movie could even be higher than $239 million. The current record holder for an R-rated opening at the domestic box office is, can you guess it, Chris?
Drum roll, please.
Deadpool movie,
Wow.
the Deadpool from 2016.
Yeah.
Which grossed $132.4 million. So Deadpool and Wolverine would almost double that in this projection. If it hits $239 million, it will make it the fourth highest grossing MCU film ever in its opening weekend behind Endgame. Spider-Man No Way Home, Black Panther, and Infinity War.
So very successful. If it gets this 239 million.
Very success.
Much success.
Much success.
Very nice. My wife.
Kick at the castle. Kick at the castle.
What is this gypsy stuff? All right. Anyway, so yes, why did we go into Borat there? I don't know. But anyway, if it hits this,
Our fucking show.
I think that if it hits 239 million, which it very easily could do, based on the projections and what else is coming around Deadpool and Wolverine, there's no competition. People are yearning for some MCU. It looks good. Again, we don't know if it's any good, but it could be good. And it, I think word of mouth, if nothing else, could push this over. I mean, this could be $1 billion film, Aaron. If this is $1 billion film, we are back, baby. We are so fucking back, and I hope it's true. I really want this movie to be good. So, while Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was an outlier, earning more than $845 million worldwide during its run in theaters, Marvel Studios' other 2023 films, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and The Marvels, both of which Aaron and I covered on this show, and we also went and saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania together here in Indianapolis.
Together.
Together
forever.
Oh, yeah. And they both underperformed at the box office. Womp womp.
That is an understatement. Womp, womp.
Speaking of underperforming, the Marvels in particular was the biggest box office flop in MCU history, only occurring $206 million domestically. Total, Aaron. $206 million domestic. Deadpool Wolverine, if it hits its height of 236, it would beat that in its opening weekend.
It's going to sell more than that in popcorn buckets.
Exactly. Yeah, which looks cool. I like that popcorn bucket that they Deadpool and Wolverine will hit theaters on July 26th. Again, Aaron and I won't be able to cover it here on the show because we will be in San Diego. What is your temperature check on Deadpool and Wolverine, Aaron? I'm gonna read your mind, Professor X style. I put my fingers up to my temples, and I'm gonna bet you're excited.
Yes.
Wow. I'm psychic.
You're good.
You're
basically Professor Xavier.
To me, my Aaron.
Ah.
Yeah, it looks good. I'm very excited for this. And I think before we get into our Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe comic spotlight, I will say we've talked about this on the show before. Could have been on the grid. Not sure. This version of Deadpool, the Ryan Reynolds version, I'm not sick of it yet. I'm still loving it quite a bit, actually.
I just watched it again, the first one, again.
Yeah.
And I don't get tired of it. It's it's good every single time. And even more so now, I've been looking at some of these new screenshots, or I guess what you call it, stills that are coming out, from production, and it looks good.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman his suit looks insanely good. Everything about this is looking so good.
Yeah. Have you seen the leaks of what his helmet looks like? His cowl, I guess you would call it.
I don't think so.
Pretty good. Looks pretty accurate.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. All right, that'll do.
All I want him to say is Bub with a cigar in his mouth.
Come on. That's all we need. That's all we want.
Hey, Bub.
Hey, Bub.
Hey, Bub.
All righty. Well, that'll do it for our news and notes. Once again, thank you to Omnibus for sponsoring our news and notes. Speaking of Deadpools that we're really annoyed by, let's go ahead and get into our comic spotlight of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Before we get there, though, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
Hey, everyone. Aaron Knowles here, co-host of the Oblivion Bar podcast. Have you ever wondered how you can support those who have served or serve our country currently? If you have, listen up. Shred the Stress is a nonprofit that I started which is dedicated to supporting the mental, emotional, and physical health of our military communities using one-wheels, electric scooters, and other personal electric vehicles. You can support several ways: following us on social media at Shred the Stress on all platforms, donating to paypal.me/Shred the Stress, or even choosing Shred the Stress as your Amazon Smiles supported nonprofit. That's right, you can support Shred the Stress with every Amazon purchase. For more information, please go to shredthestress.org, and if you need support, never be afraid to reach out.
Main topic.
Alrighty, let's get into our comic spotlight of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Aaron, initial thoughts on this book that you just read for the first time. We kind of talked about it there at the beginning, but at the end of this series, by reading this extremely popular comic from the Marvel Universe library, what were your thoughts at the end of it?
That's a waste of time.
It's not good, guys. And you're probably wondering, Chris, Aaron, again, why are you covering it? I don't know. Here's the thing, everybody. I'm just going to be honest with everybody right at the top. Not a big Deadpool fan in terms of the comics, right? We kind of alluded to it a little bit there in our news and notes. Really enjoy the Ryan Reynolds adaptation in live action. But in terms of his comics, I'm kind of annoyed by any time that Deadpool shows up in a comic. It's a little much for me often. I can only think of a couple times where I really enjoyed it. Most notably, Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force was very good. He's a really cool addition to that very serious and angry team of like Psylocke and Wolverine and Phantom X and Archangel. He's sort of a nice, it's not even like the loud Deadpool that we experience in the story, Aaron. It's more of sort of a more reserved. He's got a little humor to him, but you can tell he's broken, right?
Is that the gray suit?
Yeah, it's the gray suit that we kind of see in Deadpool 2 in the end credits. Yeah. So, it's not great.
I'm kind of the same way. So for me, it's like small doses.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at Ryan Reynolds, and as I said earlier, I could watch that movie probably not multiple times in a row, but like with less time in between watches than some other movies that I've seen. I'll basically attribute a comic book Deadpool to the same as like when there's a bunch of cosplayers as Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like they're just there to be annoying.
Yeah, cause mayhem, just to do random shit.
Yeah. No matter what Deadpool you see around the show floor, they're going to be doing something to get attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not here for you. I'm here for the greater story.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's funny is that I will give this book one bit of credit. This is a story that I read a long time ago. You know, when you first start getting into comics, there was in the early 2010s, there was sort of this list of comics that you should check out first. Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, more specifically, 30 Days of Night, Kraven's Last Hunt. There are a couple, Invincible. There are these comics that the masses will recommend you, and Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe is usually among that list for reasons that I don't know. I think it's just because of the commercial name. I think it literally is just the name. Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. What cooler of an idea could there be, right? The fact that you have this very funny character. What happens when he just goes crazy and he just kills everyone? And I think that in itself has sort of given it more of this larger than life lifespan than the actual quality of the book, right? I say all that to say this. Again, I'm going to give it a little bit of credit here. I think what's really interesting about this book is that Colin Bunn, the writer, we'll get into the creative team here in just a moment. Colin Bunn, I think, is sort of trying to have a conversation with the reader in the fact that in this story, Deadpool is aware that he's in a comic. That's kind of one of the big reveals, is that he becomes completely sentient. He no longer just breaks the third wall, but he also almost like breaks the fourth wall, right? Is it the fourth wall? What's the fourth wall?
He breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
But then this one, he breaks the complete universal wall.
Right, there it is. Yeah. So he comes into our universe in this comic at one point. And I think what Colin Bunn is trying to say is that death, it doesn't matter in the big two, especially, but in comics in general, because they'll just come back. They'll just come back eventually in an event book, or a new creative team will hop on or something. I think what Colin Bunn is trying to say is what he's trying to do is trying to highlight that and think that's really silly. Aaron, let's get into our summary here and we'll kind of dive into this book a little bit more in depth.
So the summary is releasing August 1st of 2012. Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe is the 4-issue Elseworld story. And I remember Elseworld because that's going to probably keep coming up more, not only in this conversation, but further down the road. What if everything you thought was hilarious and endearing about Deadpool was actually disturbing? What if Wade decided to kill everyone and everything that makes up the Marvel Universe? Who could stop him? And this is something I didn't know, Chris. This is actually a riff on the 1995 one-shot Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe by Garth Ennis and Doug Braithwaite, which I'm going to have to read because I've never read that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very good.
In that story, Frank Castle becomes an officer in the NYPD SWAT team after he leaves the U.S. Marine Corps, which is obviously it's a little bit different than what the normal Frank Castle Punisher story, where instead of his family being murdered by a gangland slaying once he leaves the military, Castle's wife and his children are actually instead killed when they're caught in the middle of a battle between Avengers, X-Men, and a group of Brood and other aliens in Central Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shout out to Central Park.
It's a good story too. I think it's much better than what we see here in Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. And it is only a one shot. It's only like 40 pages. Garth Ennis is the king of that character, so he knew exactly what he was doing. I think that at that time it was sort of overlooked, but since then has become somewhat of a dark horse classic for the Punisher. And it is also an Elseworld story as well. So I highly recommend that if Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe was something that you're kind of interested in, try to find. I think they actually just recently released a new collected edition of The Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe that has, let's see here, has Amazing Spider-Man 161 to 162, Punisher number 9, Punisher number 33 to 37, Punisher Warzone 33 to 37, and then Marvel Universe versus the Punisher, which is what the original story was. It wasn't Deadpool. It wasn't Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. It was the Marvel Universe versus the Punisher. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Again, as we talked about a moment ago, creative team. We've got Colin Bunn, who most people know from, he's done a lot of Deadpool already. Harrow County, also with one of our favorite creators, Tyler Crook. The Six Gun, Uncanny X-Men, X-Men Blue, Agent Venom, Magneto. He is what, Aaron, I don't know if you're familiar with Colin Bunn's work at all, but he's sort of the company man there at Marvel, I'll say. He is we need this book done. Where's Colin at? Someone get Colin Bunn in here right now. We need something. That's what he does. And that's not any slight towards him because he's paying his bills. He's got a lot of great creator-owned work.
If you're reliable, man.
Yep. I think Jack Kirby once said that the way to making comics is to be on time and turn in your work early. So Colin Bunn, I mean, he's making a living. And also he's a great writer outside of his big two stuff. Like I'm not trying to throw any big shade at Colin and his, Marvel stuff, but a lot of his best work is his creator-owned horror stuff. And then we have, I'm going to butcher his name, but Dalibor Talajic. Okay. We'll go with that. He did the Marvel adaptation of Dexter, which is interesting. I didn't know that Marvel had the rights at one point to the Dexter comic, but he did the interiors for that. He did some Uncanny X-Force. He's mostly known as sort of a fill-in artist. Like he's done a lot of titles, but he's mostly like I'll do 2 issues here. I'll fill in an annual here. I'll do a cover here kind of guy. So I don't really have, so here's the thing, Aaron, I'm going to be honest with you and the listener here. I don't really have any attachment to either one of these creators, truthfully. Like
neither.
Harrow County is really, I think, the one that sticks out to me for Colin Bunn. Again, I'm a big Tyler Crook fan, big fan of Tyler Crook. That's the majority of the reason why I love that book so much is because of his interiors. But in terms of like overall work, neither one really with this one. But
I find Agent Venom to be an intriguing character, but other than that, none of these really pull me in for any kind of defining moments.
Sure. Well, Aaron, why don't you go over the story here? And again, this is sort of a brief overview. We'll kind of get into it a little bit more in depth as we go on, but let's talk a little bit about this story. I guess the skeleton of the story and what we get into with Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe.
We begin with a narration of Uatu, the Watcher, talking about the marvels that surround the world and how now every single marvel is meeting its inevitable end. Next, we see Susan Storm grieving over her dying husband, Reed Richards. Because doesn't he just kill Uatu?
I think it's Uatu, but yeah, he does. He kills.
Uatu?
We'll get into, so after we get through the summary here, we'll actually talk about how each character is killed in this story.
Yeah. So like as he's like talking about, he dies. Yep. Next we see Susan Storm grieving over Reed Richards as he like dies in her arms.
Got stretched.
Yep. Surrounded by the remains of Ben Grimm's rocky body. Reed mentions with his last breath that he managed to keep their children safe in the negative zone where he's never coming back from. He kept them safe from this menace.
Yep.
An explosion sounds and Susan becomes invisible. Only to find out that the perpetrator is none other than Deadpool, who has just crashed a ship, crushing Johnny Storm and slitting his throat. The resulting blood splat reveals Susan's position, to Deadpool, but before he can attack her, Susan blows up his head with a force field. However, Deadpool, Jesus.
That could be an alternate version of Deadpool. Deadpeel, just be a banana.
Yeah, he's just a banana, yeah.
Marvel, don't take that. Do not take that. That is ours. We're writing Deadpeel. Christian Ward on interiors.
I think I wrote that in my head. However, Deadpool's healing factor rebuilds his head and he manages to stab Susan in the back, effectively killing, was it Marvel's first family? You know? So, and then in a flashback, it's revealed that Deadpool was committed to the Ravencroft Asylum by the X-Men and, big old Charles Xavier, who for some reason is walking.
He's walking in this
one? He's walking.
Yeah.
Okay. In order to heal him from his insanity, but unbeknownst to them, his doctor was actually Psycho Man, who was brainwashing his patients into doing his bidding and was aiming to do the same with Deadpool by shutting down his inner voices. Unfortunately, the plan backfires as his voices were replaced by a new one that encouraged him to basically kill everyone and everything. So basically Psycho Man unlocked something within Deadpool's brain and psychosis, I guess, and unleashed hell.
Mm-hmm.
So Deadpool kills Psycho Man by smashing his head as a stamp, and later he escapes Asylum, not before blowing it up. Deadpool confronts Uatu once he manages to find him, and even manages to kill him thanks to one of Reed's devices before heading on with his massive killing spree.
Yeah. So, and then it's just sort of down the list here, and we'll just kind of go down it really quick. Characters that are killed in this story, we've got, and I should also say this is Earth 12101. So this is, as we said earlier, it's an Elseworld story. But we've got Benjamin Brighton, aka Psycho Man. He is crushed. He opens up that head, dead. We got the Avengers. They were killed by a bomb, and then Luke Cage was killed by some coffee, some little coffee bombs. As Aaron said, Fantastic Four. Reed Richards was ripped apart. We got the Thing was blown up. We got Human Torch crushed by a jet. Invisible Woman, sword.
Dead.
We've got Spider-Man shot in the head.
Dead.
We've got Thor killed by Pym particles that enlarged Mjolnir and crushed him.
Dead.
The X-Men. Here's a long one for you. That's what she said. Cyclops, Emma Frost, Pixie, Cannonball, all encased in basically Scott's head got encased in this bubble. Still don't know what that is. He tried to use his blast, his optic blast, and it blew everybody. Optic blast, and it killed everybody. Professor X.
Dead.
Professor X, self-awareness? ? Killed him.
Dead.
He knew too much. He found out what was going on. Wolverine. What is that?
Carborundum blade.
Carborundum blade? Yeah, I guess. I still know what that is. Colossus, Gambit, what's that?
I don't know is he dead? Because we don't really know.
That's the thing, is that Deadpool, he cuts Wolverine's head off, but like 2 pages before that, Sue blows up Deadpool's head. I don't know. I don't know I don't understand the rules of the healing factors in this universe, in this story, I guess. We've got Colossus, Gambit, and Rogue, electricity. We've got Magneto, jellified acid.
Dead.
Kitty Pryde, mirror maze. So Kitty Pryde's not technically dead. She's just running around in circles in this mirror maze. All right, we got...
Might as well be dead.
Hulk killed... he cut off Bruce Banner's head. The Punisher shot in the head. Got Taskmaster was killed by Man-Thing's fear burn. We've got Man-Thing was killed by an explosion. And then Uatu, as Aaron said, was decapitated. So...
Okay, so here are my comments about some of these things. Okay. All right. Man-Thing. I think that was like supposed to be some kind of philosophical moment between Wade and Man-Thing, and that's why he like didn't really blow up, but he just kind of like opened the portal for Wade because Wade like opened his mind to what was going on.
Wade Wilson. Wade, open
Yeah.
your mind.
The other thing is, at one point, Taskmaster can hear the voice in Wade's head.
Mm-hmm.
What sense does that make?
I don't know, Aaron. I don't know. I don't like this story.
It's
I don't get it. And I don't get why would Man-Thing help him here?
Here's a question. If you cut off Wolverine's head,
yeah,
and you put it into a box,
mm-hmm.
could he not heal?
Yeah. I mean, I would say yes, but the thing is, this story, the head mechanics of the healing factor don't align.
Yeah. Same with Mjolnir.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter how much it weighs because Thor's the only one that can lift it.
I don't know. Again, is it silly for us to sort of try to make sense of any of this?
I'm just trying to say, like, it doesn't.
I mean, I'm not blaming you. Trust me, I'm thinking the same thing.
Stupid here.
I agree.
Like, there's a certain time where I understand, suspend your belief. I get it. We're talking about superheroes. We're talking about a character that breaks the universal wall to come and kill his own creators.
Yeah.
And then threatens the reader.
How dare you? I'm just here. I'm just reading the story.
I'm just saying, none of it makes sense.
Agreed.
None of it makes, it's like not even a compelling story because none of it, like, anyways.
No, you're right. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. The thing is about the story, part of the reason why I don't like it is because it doesn't follow its own rules. Like, I get the whole point is Deadpool killing. The real point of the story is to put Deadpool in these situations to kill Marvel heroes in a very interesting way. I guess in interesting, sort of unique ways. But I didn't say this at the top, but I'm going to say it now. This book is it's just angry. It's just like mean. It's mean-spirited. I don't like it.
The other part of that is that it's not good because that right there being the point of the story is to put Deadpool in these situations to have to kill all of these superheroes and supervillains. But 95% of them, you don't even get to see the cool deaths. It's just like, you don't even get to see a cool battle. All you find out is at one point, the arcade man is like being held, in like solitude and like he's imprisoned to help Wade like create these puzzles and these ways of killing these superheroes. but you don't get to see the coolness of it.
Mm-hmm. It kills Power Pack off screen at one point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the sequels. So this is sort of, again, this comic was extremely popular, weirdly very popular. And then it spawned a multitude of sequels. Aaron, I'll let you sort of handle our sequels here because you actually read one of them. I read one of them. You read one of them. We'll talk about it.
I read 2 of them.
Oh, you did? Okay. Which ones?
So I read both, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe and then Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe again.
Okay. So there are technically 4 installments in this Deadpool Kills universe, right?
So we got 3 covered.
Mm-hmm.
You did Deadpool Kills Deadpool, and I got both Kills the Universe.
I haven't read it recently, but I read Deadpool Illustrated.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Again, as Chris mentioned, there's 3 sequels, making it a 4-book kind of total.
Mm-hmm.
Deadpool Illustrated, written by Cullen Bunn, art by Matteo Lolli. 2013's Deadpool Illustrated follows the same version of Deadpool after murdering his way through dozens of alternate Marvel universes. He decided to go a little deeper and start hunting down the classics of literature: Dracula, Tom Sawyer, Moby Dick, Captain Ahab, and more. This is one that I am actually interested in reading because that sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds fun. Then you got Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe again, written by Cullen Bunn, art by Dalibor Talajic, just like this one. Again, this one for me.
What happened in this? This is the one I haven't read. What's the story here?
So this one is, you basically have this cadre of supervillains that are led by Red Skull. So you have everybody. You have Magneto. You have Doctor Doom. You have like all the bad guys get together, and it's basically the Winter Soldier. They somehow implement this statement, this passphrase into Deadpool's mind, and then they can use him to kill anybody they want. And so when from the perspective, you get to see a few perspectives of Deadpool, and he's basically seeing like a completely changed world. Like his I kind of talked about it before, his reality is completely changed. He sees good guys as bad guys and wants to kill them.
Okay. Is it still kind of mean and angry as the first one?
No, I mean, I would say this one's like less mean because at least he has a purpose to it.
Yeah.
And there's only one good scene in it. After he kills like a bunch, again, the Power Pack and like some of these younger, superheroes, Magneto tells Deadpool where he is. He's like, he doesn't go and hide in hiding with Red Skull and the other like heroes who are cowards. He sits down, he starts getting drunk, he takes off his helmet, and he's just like waiting for Deadpool to show up. Deadpool shows up and he's like, I'm here to face the music, man. But Deadpool's like, oh, I had to kill the kids. Like, you guys, why did you do it? Blah, blah, blah. And Magneto's like, there's no excuse. I'm here to face the music. And Deadpool's like, well, we're both going to have to live with this. And so he just walks away from Magneto sitting there drinking. And it's just like, to me, that's like the only pertinent, powerful scene of this story.
Yeah. Well, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Does this take place in another universe? Because we see Magneto dead in the first one.
This is another completely different universe.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. And then we have Deadpool Kills Deadpool. This is another one that I read, written by Cullen Bunn, art by Salva Espin. This 2018 sequel is Deadpool from that story is called Dreadpool. So we have a new Deadpool teaming up with a bunch of different Deadpool to hunt down the Dreadpool from the first 2 stories, from Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe and Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe again.
Interesting.
This story is actually really fun, and it's really colorful. It's a lot more sort of fun. Like, it's just fun. Like Lady Deadpool's in there. We got Dead Panda. I can't remember. There's a bunch of different Deadpools. Pandapool, that could be it. We've got like a Galactus version of Deadpool. It's a lot more fun, that one. I think if you're looking for like a lighter version of this, you could honestly just read that by itself, Deadpool Kills Deadpool, and I think you would get a lot more out of it. For sure. Yeah,
Gwenpool makes an appearance in Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe again. And that's another character that I don't really understand a lot of. Like, I don't know the history of how it's Gwen Stacy becoming.
It's not
Deadpool
even that. Gwenpool's story, and I could be butchering this too, but the origin of Gwenpool is essentially a actual comic reader finds herself in a comic, fully aware of everything around her and the universe. So she has like a fourth wall sort of deal too. And she just creates the persona of Gwenpool. That's all it is.
Oh. So, and again, like this is, I just want people to understand also midway through this conversation that neither Chris nor I have any negative feelings, vibes, energy, whatever towards Deadpool fans, because we know, like, I know how abundantly almost ravage Deadpool fans can be, because they are like stark Deadpool fans. And so, you know, we do this with all the respect, you know?
Yeah. It's just that this is not really our speed, but
yeah.
One of the last things we'll cover here is that in July of this year, so again, while you're listening to this, Marvel will be releasing basically 20 variants to celebrate not only Deadpool and Wolverine, but also the story of Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. And it says here, paying tribute to one of the most popular Deadpool comic series of all time, the Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe variant covers depict Wade slicing, dicing, and unleashing his special brand of mayhem on his fellow Marvel characters. Drawn by some of the industry's top artists, each cover spotlights the insanity and lethality of the Merc with the Mouth and will adorn all of the Marvel's hottest issues throughout July. So I'm just going to kind of go over a couple here. We've got like Doctor Strange number 17, done by Giuseppe Camicoli. You've got Spider-Boy number 9, done by Nal Fiji. You've got Incredible Hulk number 14 by Declan Shalvey. You've got Captain America 11, done by David Nakayama. Todd Knock is doing one for Immortal Thor number 13. There's a lot. It's a 20 variants of this story.
The funny thing is, there's certain people I don't see on this list that generally make like covers for everything.
Yeah.
I don't see a Peach Momoko. I don't see a Scotty Young. I don't see who else?
Mark Brooks.
Mark Brooks. Mark Brooks has released his face ones that he's done recently.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are just on it. But I am excited for Namor number 1 because I'm a big Joshua Cassara fan.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think if we keep going on to this conversation, we're just keep bashing it. The point is, I think this is kind of my final thoughts, is that I think this is sort of a silly comic that you can hand someone who's a Deadpool fan and they'll probably have fun with it. But I think overall for me, Aaron, I think it's just sort of mean. And this is not really my speed necessarily. I actually wanted to cover it not only because we have Deadpool and Wolverine coming out, but also I wanted to kind of get your read on it. I want to kind of get your temperature, because I feel like generally this might be something that you're into, because I know you've said before that the idea of having Deadpool going off and killing some of the Fox X-Men people is interesting to you, and you kind of would like that throughout Deadpool and Wolverine. It very could possibly be elements of that in Deadpool and Wolverine. None of that interests me. I'm not into it. I didn't like that scene in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I don't like just seeing supposed heroes going around killing other heroes in grotesque ways. It's just not my interest.
And I don't necessarily mean like grotesque ways. And again, to put it to clarify, I like the idea of them using kind of Deadpool and this opportunity to clean up some of the mess that's been made in the past, and kind of like, kind of clean house a little bit, tighten things up a little bit to renew what's going to be. Because he doesn't even have to do it in a deadly way. He doesn't have to do it in a gory way. He could honestly just go kind of like he was doing in the end of Deadpool 2, when he was using Cable's like time device. He could just jump back and forth, make some small changes that basically, like, I mean, he could honestly just kill the directors of the first, X-Men films. Yeah. And like, that's funny. Or like, just, I don't know, some funny way of approaching it that's better than I could think of it. And to make it an interesting way to clean up these older films so that we have like a fresh restart in a non-diabolical way.
Sure. Absolutely. Do you think much of this is going to be adapted in Deadpool and Wolverine? Are you kind of feeling that might be some parts of it?
If anything, there's going to be like an accidental version of it. Like he's going to fall into it. I don't think it's going to be.
He's going to accidentally kill Elektra. He's going to accidentally kill Professor. He's going to.
Yeah, I think he might be like, maybe he might stumble through some of these like last minute, I'm going to call them the final boss fights of these movies, and maybe like set something off that like completely ruins everything.
Could be. Yeah, I could see them definitely doing some things. I think they'll be like the X-Force scene in Deadpool 2, where like he'll go off and do a mission with some of the X-Men from the Fox universe, and just some of them will be killed by Cassandra Nova, whoever ends up being the ultimate bad guy in that movie. And then one kind of quick question for you here before we close out this segment. If you could pick a creative team to continue this story, so Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe again, who would be that creative team? Do you have any ideas on who you would like to see kind of tackle this?
I think if anything, I'd like to have I would even say someone like, I don't want to say Scott Snyder. Honestly, I'm thinking of like DC type writers.
Sure. Yeah.
Sorry, remind me. Okay, The Deviant.
Oh, James Tynion.
James Tynion.
Yeah.
Make it more of a, so, okay, to clarify and to kind of clean up my thought there, I'd like to see more of a psychological view of what's going on instead of them just like stating and showing, hey, there's a new voice in Wade's head. I'd like to see a little bit more of that, I guess, again, psychosis and the inner workings of what's going on with his brain.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. James Tynion on that would be cool. I think what came to me first was I'd love to see Kyle Starks write. Kyle Starks is one of the funniest writers in comics, and I think he would have a great voice for Wade. And I think he also has a good way of tying in heart to that. I think Peacemaker Tries Hard, good example of how you can have a book both be funny and heartfelt. And then I think for art,
that's such a good point, man. That's a good point. Good kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. And then art wise, I'm going to say I kind of like the idea of having Dan Mora on the book. Dan Mora, of course, DC exclusive, but in this universe that we're writing here, doesn't matter. Dan Mora, I think, is just one of the coolest creators in comics right now. And I would love to see him sort of, because he's kind of creating the house style at DC. I want to see him create a house style for Marvel as well.
I think if I were to give an artist, I would say, honestly, like two of my favorite idea right now would be Daniel Warren Johnson.
Oh my gosh.
I think would be a fun kind of creator for that, but also Ryan Ottley.
Sure. Oh, Ryan Ottley he's very fluent in the gore, right? That's what he does.
Yeah.
And I think Daniel Warren Johnson would do a good job writing and drawing this together. Like if Marvel just handed him a blank check and said, please do something with Deadpool, I would be in. Like as I said, Deadpool, not really my bag in the comics. Put Daniel Warren Johnson on the book, I'm in. So I think that will do it for Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. We're very excited for Deadpool and Wolverine. Hopefully everybody enjoys that. And I know our endorsement of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe wasn't exactly glowing, but as always, Aaron and I always endorse people to go and check this stuff out for themselves. Maybe we're wrong. Aaron and I are not the end all be all when it comes to this stuff. So go check it out for yourself.
Strokes for different folks.
That's right. Alrighty, let's get into my favorite segment of the show, one that I have been looking forward to the last couple of weeks. It is Aaron's Arcade.
It's time for Aaron's Arcade.
All right, welcome to Aaron's Arcade. It's sponsored by G Fuel. Whether you're a casual gamer, a content creator, an everyday Joe, or an esports pro, G Fuel's sugar-free, antioxidant, and vitamin-fortified, focus-enhancing, and high-performance energy products will give you the edge you need to fuel your grind. I'm drinking one right now.
I've been drinking one this entire time.
I've been drinking one the entire show. While stocking up at gfuel.com, use our code OBP at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Remember, that stacks during sales as well. That's OBP at checkout.
What is it?
All right. Huh?
What is that code?
OBP.
Say it again.
OBP.
OBP. OBP.
OBP. OBP.
Right,
okay.
Anyway.
Anyways, I'm back on my Doom shit again.
You back on that Doom shit?
I'm back on that Doom shit, yo. Damn, son.
Where'd you find this?
It's a good Doom. I've been playing nothing but Doom and Doom Eternal again, in preparation for the newest installment that was recently basically announced, announced. Xbox, Microsoft, they did kind of a game announcement, almost like a
Nintendo Direct.
Almost like a Nintendo Direct, but for Microsoft. And they showed a teaser trailer for Doom, The Dark Ages. And it's being inspired by the original Doom 1 and 2. And it's, oh God, it looks so good. We've got new weapons. We've got a shield with spikes that you can almost start up like a chainsaw. It's like, and you can throw it and it bounces around. Oh man, there's a weapon called the Contraption, but basically you take the skulls of your enemies and you shove it in there, and it basically is like a meat grinder, and it shoots out the bone fragments as like a fully automatic weapon. There's a goddamn Doom mech. All right, a fucking mech. I am so hyped for this. The game is going to be like in 4K. The trailers are 4K. Like everything looks fantastic. There's a new Doom armor. He's got like kind of like this fur cape, and he just looks fucking badass. I'm so excited. It's coming out in 2025, and I'm so hyped for it that right now all I'm doing is playing Doom again. I keep playing Doom over and over again. I'm excited. I am addicted. I am just, he's
got a problem, everybody.
God, I do have a problem. but I love it. I fucking love it, man. I can't stop. But anyways, that's enough of my shit. But go play Doom. Or go check out the trailer for it. You know, I should link that. You know what I'll do? I'll link that trailer into the show notes. Go to my social media if you want to see it, because I will be sharing it every time I see it across my timeline. I literally sent Chris screenshots of the trailer as it was being announced, and I'm like, fucker. Okay.
I'm like,
I don't care. He's like, I don't give a shit about this.
Oh, cool. Very cool, Aaron. Very nice.
That's so neat. I'm so happy for you. Okay. Saying that, let's get to my favorite part of the show, Chris's Corner.
It's time for Chris's Corner.
Alrighty, this week for Chris's Corner, Aaron, House of the Dragon is back. Season 2 premieres last night, and I'm so excited. It was very good. You know how much I love Game of Thrones, and I was so pumped. Actually, this entire month, I should just say broadly, is extremely exciting for television fans, because you've got new House of the Dragon, new The Bear at the end of the month, and then new The Boys. So a lot of thes out there and a lot of greatness. I'm excited. I've not seen any of The Boys. I think the first 3. Have you seen The Boys? First 3 episodes?
I haven't watched any of the new season. That's one of those ones I might wait till it comes out completely and then binge it.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I haven't seen it yet, but I probably will still. I'm going to catch up at some point. Regardless, House of the Dragon season 2, the first episode titled "A Son for a Son." It was very good. It was so worth the wait. I just absolutely love House of the Dragon, maybe more so than the original Game of Thrones. I mean, based on the trajectory of Game of Thrones, I think it was 7 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 8 seasons. The first season and a half, I like a lot more than I did initially. At first, I wasn't a huge fan of it, and I just slowly started to appreciate it more. But this came out the gate. First season was so good. First season of House of Dragon was so incredible. And that first episode last night, I won't spoil anything here, obviously. It's just awesome. It actually adapts a very famous scene from the Fire and Blood book. And I won't spoil what that is. So if you've read Fire and Blood, there's a very specific moment in the Dance of the Dragon storyline from Game of Thrones, or from the Targaryen family specifically, that I wasn't sure they were ever going to do, but they totally do. And I wasn't excited. I was kind of grossed out, but it was still really cool. So anyway, House of the Dragon season 2, make sure you go check that out. So happy that it's back.
Chris, is there as much incest in this show as there was in the first one?
Yes.
Cool.
Very cool. I'm in. Sign me up.
I'm in.
Where do I watch?
Me.
Alrighty, that'll do it for episode 161, and that'll do it for the Oblivion Bar this week. Next week on the show, we just spoke about it a moment ago, we are talking to the creative team of Barfly over in the Minor Threats universe, done by Patton Oswalt, Jordan Blum, and Scott Hepburn. Again, good friends of the show. We've had them on here. We're talking to Kyle Starks and Ryan Brown. And Aaron, as I just said a moment ago, Kyle Starks, one of the funniest creators out there, as is Ryan Brown. Aaron, you might know Ryan Brown as the artist on Curse Words and 8 Billion Genies.
8 Billion Gins.
Yep.
Love it.
And then Kyle Starks, of course, has done Peacemaker Tries Hard. He's done...
I'm so glad you started reading Peacemaker Tries Hard.
Yeah, I actually read it all right before I started talking to Kyle, and I was so happy I did too. It's so good. He also has done Rock Candy Mountain. He's done Sex Castle, Karate Prom. So many good things. So that'll do it for episode 161. Aaron, take us out of here.
All right. I cannot say that I'm excited about any Game of Thrones thing, just FYI.
Here's the thing. You're going to put it off for 6 years, and then I'm going to say, Aaron, just watch it. And then you're going to binge it all again like you did Game of Thrones. You're going to be happy because you loved it, especially the incest. That's what you love the most. He said it offline, everybody. Don't let him lie to you.
He said it.
He told me. He told me before the recording.
Okay.
He's like, the incest is what I'm here for.
I hate you sometimes, but I love you.
But I love
you. Okay. All right. So subscribe to our podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. That's where we are. That's where we'll be.
That's where we are right now. Come hang out.
We'll never leave you.
Yeah. Go listen to our Paprika episode. It's a good one.
Paprika.
Paprika.
Thank you to our patrons, Alex, Aaron, Botter from Shortbox, Brad, B, Cassidy, Chris from the Bada Boom Pod, Chris J, Christy, Danny, David, Elliot, George, Greg from First Issue Club, Haley, Ham6, Jake from Spectales, Jake S, Jeremy, Kenny, Kyle, Lucy, Mac, Miles, Mike, Robert, Sean from I Used to Like This One, Travis, and Bradley from Comic Book Scouts.
Didn't really time up that breath correctly this time. You know what?
But I got it.
Every week we're gonna try a new tactic. We're gonna try something new.
But I got it. I did get it.
Everyone at home, join our Patreon so Aaron has to say another name. And he's gonna keep getting it harder.
Never mind. Follow us on social media, Twitter. Choke me, daddy. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads at Oblivion Bar Pod. Thank you, Omnibus, for sponsoring the show. Use the link in our show notes to upgrade how you read comic books digitally. It's bitchin'. I love reading my comics on Omnibus. I feel like we just need to do a whole new show on just Omnibus.
All right, Aaron.
Official merch of the show.
They've already paid us. You don't need to.
Got it. Official merch of the
anymore.
show can be found on our website, oblivionbarpodcast.com. I'm just going to ignore you from now on. Kevin Siegler, thank you for all of our Oblivion Bar art. He's at the Zigzone on Instagram. Dream Kid, thank you for all of our musical themes. Thank you, DJ Skyvac, for our grid theme. Thank you, Fantasy Shop, for sponsoring the show. And last but not least, do not forget to tip your bartenders, your sushi chefs. Say that 5 times fast.
Sushi chef. Ah, fuck.
Fucked it up. Anybody that serves you and does a good job, 20% or more, or you just don't like good service, and you'll get bad service for like 7 years.
The only people I serve are fools on the basketball court. I shoot Jays in their eyeballs. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Oblivion Bar podcast. We will see you next week for episode 162.